Hello and welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here today at the Phil Rice YouTube channel. I'm very grateful that you're able to make it today for this very, very cool, fun, interesting, and no doubt largely informative presentation. I encourage you guys all to keep a pencil and paper handy for all of the data points that are going to be presented so you can go off and do your own research. And I'm very, very honored today to have a couple of super wonderful, lovely people, very knowledgeable, very caring, very well-traveled, experienced, and, active teachers and practices. And it's so cool. I feel very blessed. And so thank you for joining us here. And I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping before we get cracking. And please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing. It helps the channel. And also, there may be some value in this you'd like to share with others. And of course, you can see the description below in the YouTube description there to see how you can connect with the guests and also support the channel. And of course, this is an interactive show. So if you we'll have a look at some questions towards the end of the catch up here. And so you can put your questions into the live chat and we'll have a look at those towards the end. And so I'll give you another prompt for that. So yeah. But welcome, everyone. And of course, well, happy solstice indeed. And, I know that the YouTube thumbnail said Esoteric Christmas. And we know that that's a pretty relatable couple of words that sort of encapsulates a lot of what we're going to talk about today. But essentially, if we bring it right back, the sun in the southern hemisphere has sort of reaches its peak as far as the length of the day is concerned. But I'm not going to talk about that. That's why I brought on these super cool people, these wonderful teachers and practices and sharers and traders of wisdom and knowledge here. And so I would once again love to bring forth the very cool and well-informed and just great people, Manuela and Michael from Hermetic Mastery. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello.
Hello there. How are you going?
Well, it's so wonderful to see you guys again. And I know you're always doing stuff. And so I'm super grateful that you're able to take some time out because, I have no doubt that you've got things going on at this time of year as well. And of course, this is a pretty significant time of the year for, well, anyone in a lot of ways. And so what's been happening? Give us a recap on what you guys have been up to.
Well, all right, starting at the beginning, my mum, it's huge. We've had this massive year. It's been 12 months we've been basically together as of next week. So it's been huge. We got the new school together. Originally, one was Michael's Elphame and Manuela had a phenomenal healing scope. But anyway, we started both because we met through Hermetics. Because I've been doing it so long. So we developed this school now. We've got, initiation Hermetics, we're teaching the elements, protection. We've got them online as well as, the big advanced courses, that we're covering now right back into the tree of life and the tree of knowledge, which incidentally connects neatly into our subject today about esoteric Christmas and the Christmas tree. So a lot of topics there. So we've been quite busy. We've been traveling. We did get a chance to go down to the South Island in New Zealand, which was wonderful, chasing the Southern Lights, the Aurora Australis, which was so much fun. Ended up going into the realm of the elves there, where they filmed parts of Lords of the Rings as we, ventured and journeyed down. We went up north to Cairns, and we've done a lot this year with the teaching side of things. So lots of ones there.
Yeah, we also put, all the online teachings up as online courses. So we got the foundations of Hermetics, basically in sort of like 5 courses, like 5 chunks. But we also do them in person. So we organized in-person workshops for next year. The next one is on the Sunshine Coast, end of January, 5 days. And then we're also going to Sardinia in June, where we offer the foundations of Hermetics combined with the giants and some secrets of the land there. So yeah, been pretty busy putting it all together. Plus I'm still working on my book.
Well, I'm really grateful. You guys are like pumping the content out now. And one thing I have to say, I really enjoy those little short videos you put out where you kind of put the punchy little payloads into a short amount of time, and they're just really fun and informative. And I think one thing I've really enjoyed about this year is, because this is when I pretty much started the channel this year, is that I've been connecting with all these wonderful people, and I've managed to sort of pull a few people together to sort of hang out. And I know that, you know, I've helped to sort of facilitate some connections, and that's been great because I'm watching this community start to sort of grow, and just seeing the people exploring creativity within content creation has been actually a little bit of a guilty pleasure in some ways, because people are like yourselves are like going, you know, let's make courses and things. And there's so much great stuff for people to go and explore now that, you know, that the technology is able to facilitate. And so, I mean, it's so great when you can grab a phone and, you know, the cameras on them are pretty good. You just put it there and hit the go button. You got a beautiful backdrop of nature, and you can just drop some hot wisdom and then just upload it. And we're in a good time. I feel very blessed actually to be able to connect with such quality people like yourselves. And so thank you for all that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you. What a great wrap there. Like you said, yeah, we shoot and go. We have the car ready, you know, with mics and
Yeah.
Man.
changes that are relevant. So, Wellington boots just in case. And we're shooting in the mud today or something.
And then it's sort of, you know, something that's like in everyday life, you know, you're at the cafe, you come across something, you go for a walk, you're at a shopping center, like, you know, like hermetics or the spirituality, the real spirituality. It's like, you know, real life situation. So, you know, we're just like, yeah, walking along and then talking about things. Man, we should record this. So let's just bring out the phone and record it. Yeah.
It's so great, guys, you know, and you know, I can see like the channels that are growing, and there's a lot more interest, and people are finding, because you've got to make yourself available, right? And so yeah, I'm just grateful. So but here we are. We've made it to the end of the year. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on in the background with things like that could be cropping up in the next month or so. But here we are at this point in time, and we're at this wonderful point of the year. And I'm just gonna offer something here. I've got to say, these last few months have been quite challenging for myself and a lot of people around me. But I kind of feel like the pendulum sort of struck the other end of the swing at some point. Things seem to be, even though the television might be saying other things, I've noticed it a lot. There's a lot more positivity, and I kind of feel it's got something to do with this time of the year, because even though people are running around like mad people because of shopping and get this and do this for that, and it's all this big pressure build up for this one particular day type of thing, this is definitely a magic time of the year. And there's a, I don't know. I just want to really hand it over, because, you know, Christmas, which is a common way we refer to this point of the year, especially in the West. But of course, there are many other traditions that celebrate this time of the year. But I've got to just throw it out to you guys. What is Christmas, or what is significant about this particular time of the year?
Well, there's the obvious aspect, you know, of the Christ Mass, and obviously, you know, the resurrection of Christ, you know, and the death and the rebirth. Although there's another 17 cultures that do exactly the same that predate Christianity. You can go Mithras, you know, that the Romans celebrated Mithras, and he has exactly the same setup, where he was, you know, born of a virgin birth, and then he died and he was resurrected after the solstice, as it were. Similar, you know, with Babylonian and other traditions around that, and many of the aspects obviously have been a bit appropriated by the Christian church. And also there's a lot to do with so many different aspects. People say, well, where do the elves come in? You know, where does Santa come in? An alchemical process I'd like to speak about. Also the Saturnalia festival, that's yes, okay, where we get the horns, and a lot more depth into that as well, and all these mystical little beings, you know, the elves and the gnomes and these sorts of things, and how they're actually very much connected to the royal races of Scotland and Eastern Europe. Are obviously diminished by, you know, certain players in power structures of certain religions. Now we can get into the tree aspect as well. Why the Christmas tree? How does that relate to such and such? So obviously Christianity put that on top of the original pagan celebrations, the Yule tree and the Yule tide. So we'll get into that a little bit as we move along. And the tree is actually sacred to the tree of life, the tree of knowledge. It provides fruits and it provides shelter, shade, homes for birds and things like this. Is a very nature orientated thing, in which the word pagan means those people of the Greenlands or the folk of the land. That's what pagan means. Nothing dark about it. It's just been obviously demonized by the players and so on and so forth, the powers that be. But getting back to the Christmas aspect, there's an alchemical aspect I'd like to share with you about that. It's going to be straight to the point, because there's so many different divisions of cultures, we can get into, whether we get into the 3 days of the resurrection of Christ. But let's have a look at the alchemical version of what Christmas and Santa Claus is. So we have a sacred juice that's produced in our pineal, pituitary, and our medulla oblongata. All right. So when we produce these juices, it's high vibrational frequency, right? Because we have a clean pineal pituitary gland. Okay. So this juice is produced and it goes past the claustrum and it goes down the spine and goes into our sacrum. And obviously the 33 years of Christ and the 33 vertebrae of the spine are strongly connected. Now, if you don't waste your sexual energy and you produce it, remember, in your sexual juices, you have the absolute ingredients to and procreate yourself again through the sacred union. All right. So if you raise this back up, obviously this is where your Kundalini and many other different, Tantra rituals and rites come from. You raise this back up and it goes back up into the pineal pituitary again. You're not spilling the seed, as it were. You're using. Now some cultures, very, very much in the esoteric culture, they drink the seed because people say, oh, that's yucky, that's horrible, but it's not. You're actually taking in the highest vibrational frequencies that you can produce. You're not going to get it from dead animals, and you're not going to get from just fruits and vegetables. You're actually producing this, which is sexual reproduction. So you're actually reproducing this. So this high vibrational fluid goes back up into the claustrum, the Santa Claus, all right, and it tends to clear and focus the mind, and it has phenomenal benefits of health. And this has obviously been, misappropriated. So that's the alchemical aspect about that. So there's a very, very strong aspect hidden within your own body. And once again, as you go without, into the cosmos, meditations, you also have to go within yourself. So it's a reflection of that. That's area number one. All right. Now we've got a lot of deities and gods and goddesses to get into as well, and sacred ones that were just sort of taken over. So when the Christians came through, not knocking the Christians, because the Gnostic Christians are very advanced, all right? They had a lot of this particular knowledge, same with the Templars and things as well. It seems to be quite watered down, because if you look at a lot of the ancient Bibles, you'll see many of the apostles or the saints, and you'll see the halo around their head. You'll see it in the really old churches, and the alchemical symbols that are associated with their mastery of certain spiritual and advanced disciplines. And it seems to all be appropriated, give all your power away to, whatever, the religion. And you don't want to give your energy away to just the religion, because they're power groups. Maybe they're quoting things, but a lot of those books have been changed. The original Bible's taken from the Amuna Elish, right? This is true. This is absolute truth. And it came from another 1,000 years prior to the birth of Christ. Now, Christ himself was an advanced adept. He was of a sect called the Essenes, all right? I'm not mocking the whole virgin birth and things like this. And they were advanced alchemists of a Kabbalistic nature. They knew a lot about this kind of energy, all right? And see the ascension there? Yes, if you're looking, the Vesica Pisces. Notice behind him, that ovoid shape, that's called the Vesica Pisces, okay? Birth there. Now look at all the stars in the background in these ancient paintings. People say it's symbolic. There's so much. The 4 angels there, could you hold it on that one there, please? It looks like maybe Byzantium art or Coptic art there. See, notice the halos around the angels' heads, right? Yes. They're your 4 archangels, and they'll all be representative of the 4 fixed signs. You'll have the archangel one, obviously there'll be Archangel Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, and Uriel. There are more archangels, and they're masters of arcs, okay, or arcs of time. This goes right back deep into this knowledge. We'll get into 4-point and 5-point geometry, 5-point stars and 6-point stars, and why they're on the top of the tree and so on and so forth, and where the later religions took these from. So each of the archangels have things, usually they have their swords as guardians of and protectors of the realms and protectors of the magi. Remember the 3 visitors of Christ, not 3 kings. The original text is 3 magi. What are magi and what do they do? So the masters of this is actually the real sacred knowledge. You'll see these 4 angels here put into a lot of the different cathedrals. All right, cathedrals where the energy is at. And they relate to the 4 fixed signs of the zodiac. And we can get into that if you want to go into that a little more. Perhaps we may discuss it more in our Tree of Life courses, because there's a lot to say. They all represent the 4 elements, and the 5th element being Christ, Christos, the crystalline or the sacred fluid, or one that has mastered their own higher vibrational energy, right? So they're aligned with Christ, or the crystalline, because every single mineral has a crystalline structure, a liquid structure, or a gas structure. So the crystalline goes through the sun. He's the son of the Holy Father. He's the son, right? So they're sons of God. So what is a light that's so bright, that burns all the time, that creates life constantly? It's a sun. It's a star. It's a holy star they travel to. They follow to Bethlehem. And then you see it. It all becomes very apparent, and it's been taken out of, it's been watered down over the ages. There's a lot of energy and knowledge here that we can cover, particularly with the 4 archangels. You don't get it so much in the West, that people hardly really talk about the archangels and their mastership. And in the lore of angels, the archangels are only the 2nd tier up. You start with angels and you go to archangels. And this is the truth. The next level up, you're going into, principles and dominions and virtues. Then you're getting right up into the powers and the thrones, and then cherubim and seraphim. And these are very, very advanced beings of a very powerful nature. They're very much aware of not just this world, but other worlds that exist. So looking back at this picture as you hold it, there is a lot going on. If you are awakened, which is what we do with Hermetics, and, we study these particular principles and the symbology that's associated with it, and look at the halo around Christ. 1, 2, 3, and there's obviously one hidden behind his throat. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, or the 4 directions, the 4 winds. Starting with the 4 here, you've got the 4 archangels. Later, you'll see it, there'll be 12, or the 12 apostles, representing the time of the clock. All right, or clock. We can go through this too as we go on. We can say this. Yeah, take your time. And with the clock, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So each sacred number relates to an element and a particular aspect of the 12 dimensions of the zodiac, and their star combinations that help our star and our solar sun grow. So nothing exists without the sun. So it's not that just sun worship, as Christians worship on Sunday, right? They on Sunday, they worship the sun. Now, there's a big aspect with a Saturnalia aspect and the Saturday relating to Saturn, another aspect of the solar beings that moved away in time. And there are those, of course, the Hebrew and the Israelites and Jews, they worship on the Saturn's day. We, as all those that follow Christianity, follow that which is Sunday, which is the day of the sun. Monday, obviously, to the moon, Tuesday to Mars, Wednesday to Mercury, Thursday is Thor's day, to Jupiter, Zeus, and means guru or great teacher in Indian. And there are many deities and gods and goddesses associated with the days of the week. Friday is Freya's day. The Norse still have that mark on these days. And then Saturday, obviously, is Saturnalia's day. And the ancient name for Saturn is Kronos, which means time. A month actually is a moon cycle. Instead of the 12, we have the 13 lunar cycles in 1 year, one solar year. And many of the cultures used to be, they were feminine, so they worked to the moon or the lunar culture, whereas we now work to the solar calendar. And obviously these months that we have are slightly out of whack, as we've said before. We can get into this as well. But there's a lot of symbolism associated with these massive and ancient paintings, the way they do things so far away from what is actually the revelry or the celebrations of the Saturnalia festival. I'd like to get into a little bit more about that. Would you like to say something there?
You're on a roll.
I'm on a roll.
Yeah, of course. Obviously it's a big topic with Saturnalia and end of the year. That time there's lots of deities that are active. The veils of the world are thinner as well, so there's lots of just spiritual beings interacting more intensely with us or with our dimension than other times. Obviously you have those certain times all around the year, every now and then. And I find, like, obviously Australia doesn't have so many traditions, and I grew up in Germany, so around December, Christmas, New Year's time, you have a lot of different traditions. A lot of people only know about the markets, the Christmas markets, but you also have the tradition with St. Nicholas, where you have Knecht Ruprecht and Krampus, and those beings coming in, and especially as a teenager, you have sort of like the boys dressing up as their Krampus, and then they run around on the 5th of December, 6th of December is St. Nicholas in town with their wooden sticks and chase the girls and chase the adults. It's like on that day, literally nobody leaves the house. You stick your head out first, you look right, left, if there's any guys running around that are dressed up as Krampus with their sticks, because everybody gets beaten up, literally. But yeah.
Not as in beaten up, but just it teased and that with the sticks. Yes.
You get beaten up, you end up with bruises. Some are pretty rude.
Different kind of a Christmas there, exactly.
Oh, geez, yeah, sounds pretty rugged, man.
Exactly. Freedom tough in Europe. The Krampus, I noticed, was very much like a satyr and a Saturnian being. There's satyrs, and there's something very interesting about satyrs. They're advanced. They're half goat, half human, very much knowledge and connected to Capricorn, ironically, as we come through Centaurus. Obviously, we're going through Sagittarius and into Capricornian. And these are half human hybrids who are very, very advanced beings. So most of the great teachers scare people, but there's a lot connected to their knowledge and how these beings move through the astral and etheric planes quite easily. And the Saturnian beings, they look like that. They're the base ones anyway. They seem to have that a satire. So yeah, and it's scary. It really is. That's it. But they've obviously toned it down. Thank you to Coca-Cola and Santa, which there's a story about Coca-Cola appropriating it with Santa as well. So we've got a lot of topics to cover.
We'll just jump around, but this is
yes.
But this is, sorry, just jump in. I just want to say this is a significant one, because early in the 20th century, at some point, this character starts appearing everywhere, and it's basically like sort of like you said, a very kind word is appropriating, suddenly we've got this holiday that's being, a lot of people nowadays, because they weren't live back then, they only know what they see being advertised. There's huge Santa parades happening around the world. We have them in New Zealand and that too. We have one here in our local main street. It's one of the only ones in Auckland. I think there's 2 or maybe 3 of them, but these are significant events. And like, where did this guy in the red suit come from? Because he seems to be everywhere this time of year. And yeah, there's this thing about this connection between him and Coca-Cola. So I'd love to hear your comments on this, guys.
Oh God, this is great. All right. So here it is. It's sitting in front of your face. All right. This Santa. All right. The church had a particular character. They wanted to get people more away from the pagan celebrations of the tree and the tree of life and the tree of knowledge and many of the aspects associated with the elves and these things. So they got a particular, let's say, not so popular saint. His name was Saint Nicholas. And they used this as a vehicle with a company called Coca-Cola. Now, Coca-Cola's been around 100 years, all right? Now, how they do it, this is how they appropriate it. They actually put it on the local cultures and they just slightly twist it until later it gets twisted and tweaked and tweaked and tweaked out of time. So Saturnalia, what have we got? We've got Santa, which is an anagram of Satan. Now, Satan is a satyr. He's a satyr of Saturn, all right? Saturn controls karma. It balances that energy. It is the one that, and if you've been bad or good, that energy of Saturn will sort you out. It's the most challenging of the inner planets, hands down. It represents, the 27 club because it takes 27 years to do a cycle, 27 to 30 years. But there's a very, very important thing to learn about this, or a series of things. So Saturn is there, and it has to do with Satan and Santa, because it's a sun festival of Christianity, but there's this Saturnian aspect where originally Saturn was the ruling deity. And there's a big aspect that you see. It goes back to the Greek times with the Titans, all right? King and chief Titans, when the gods of Olympus had to use the Cyclopses and everything they could to fight against the giants and the Titans. And the father of Zeus, his name was Kronos, which means Saturn, right? And Saturn, which is, I don't want to go that deep, but he is the one that was overthrown. Now, there's a Helios-Ra-Saturnian connection with the sun, all right? There's a balance. And all the 7 days of the week relate to those 7 planets. Obviously, we're taking the moon. And also, it connects to the Lord of the Rings. So who is the Lord of the Rings? That's exactly where all this was appropriated from. Exactly, looking at Saturn. And it is very, very powerful. Its chief moon is the largest moon in the solar system. Its name is, of course, Titan. And it's big than some of the planets in our actual solar system, obviously Pluto and Mercury. It's massive. So it has a lot of power and a lot of energy. On top of Saturn is a hexagram. It's actually this huge, massive hexagram.
Yes, let's bring that up. That's on the North Pole.
Yeah, if you want to get into, you want to get into Franz Barton, the 5-point cross relating to microcosm, the 6-point, yes, that's exactly right. And what crystals grow in hexagonal form? What crystals that you have in your house? You have crystalline, all right, you're aligned with the crystalline. So you have silica quartz, ruby grows in 6-point geometry, emerald grows in 6-point geometry, and so does sapphire. How it all connects. It's very, very brilliant and very intricate. People think this is mad, you can't possibly do this. But if you've been studying this long enough, trust me, most of mainstream science hasn't got this. But the real old occult science before the wars actually does have this. And this is how they built those massive stone structures. They knew how to align these kind of energies. So crystalline structures with the 6-point star is natural growth. And the 5-point star relates to a lot of the femininity of the microcosm and many of the flowers from the 5-point star and many organisms like your starfish and so on and so forth. Even in our DNA, it's a combination of hex and pent. All right? Make it an image of ourselves. So we're going very, very deep. Saturnia, you need to understand how to balance with that energy. If you can balance with Saturn's energy, you can balance with your karma and annihilate past trauma very, very quickly. You don't want to mask your past trauma, you want to face it. So on top of Saturn, you have that. once you're doing this, it's part of the gifts that you give. You know, you have these incredible gifts of your own inner, you know, advanced abilities that you can work with. Ironically, Saturn, or the old Chronos, which means time, chronicle, you know, a chronicle is like a series of events that have been chronological order, all right, has a dance with Jupiter, or Zeus, or Zeus. Revolt, okay? The Nordic aspect of Zeus is Thor, and it's Thor's day. It is the day of thunder and lightning because of the clash of these titanic forces between Jupiter and Saturn, all right, and this overthrow. I'm not taking away from the history of these beings. These beings were huge. I mean, if you go back only a couple of thousand years, you're going to have these massive statues, these Goliath statues of Apollo and Zeus. We go to these ancient mountains and they have these stone, and they represent the sun and Jupiter and Saturn because they're in harmony with this. I mean, the stone buildings of the ancients, no one's building that today. Well, they are, but it's not on the surface world as well. So there's a lot of knowledge here. We can get into the three crosses. If you want to get more into the cross aspect of the three crosses, you have the cardinal cross. Yes. All right, we'll go with the middle cross, which is the fixed cross, which represents the four elements into the fifth. All right, the four elements coming into five, etheric, akasha. The middle cross is the fixed.
Is there a relationship to this Rosicrucian type cross here?
Absolutely. Have a look at the Rosicrucian cross and the symbolism on there. All right, your first fixed cross is in earth is Taurus, the winged bull. In fire, it is the winged lion. In Scorpio, it is the winged eagle. Scorpio has so many representations. It's to the eagle, all right? And that's what it means in ascension to the highest enlightenment. And of course, you have the angel, winged angel of Aquarius, which is to the air element, Scorpio to the water, Leo to the fire, and Taurus, the earth. The four coming together create the fixed cross and ether, all right? So the four elements become the fifth element. Form becomes formation. All right, you have the world card in the tarot, which is card number 21, or some decks it's 22.
Yeah.
And there, look in the corner of the world card, which is Saturn.
I can see if I can get this one here. Yeah, this one here. So you've got these four.
Have a look at your four corners. Yeah, absolutely. There you go. Lion, bull, eagle, and the winged angel. Yeah, well, it's the water bearer. Most people don't understand the double aspect of those particular four signs. They create that cross. It's called the fixed cross.
There we go.
Sitting right in front of your face. There it is there. Once again, Ouroboros connecting. Oh, wow. It's connected with a ribbon. Card 21, 3 times 7. Mastership. Master Saturn, which is the highest pillar of the male pillar. It's when the male masters Saturn energy, he becomes very much in tune with his own feminine, because he's got to dance through the feminine energy at the top, and then he's moving into the crown, or the higher vibrational centers of the magi, or the magician, which is obviously mentioned many different esoteric books, from Alistair Bailey to Franz Barton. Right, so you're mastering those four. The next cross is, let's have a look at the cardinal cross. Once again, it'll be the four elements again. The cardinal cross. Have a look at your Christ symbols. You'll have the cardinal cross at the top is Earth, which is Capricorn. Oh, what's that relate to? Oh, Saturn. All right. And behind, at the bottom to the south, you'll have it to Cancer, or Tishia, which is a softer name for it. And then that's to the water element. And then to your right-hand side, you'll have Aries, the ram, where we kick off our astrological calendar, which is to fire. And then on your left-hand side, you'll have Libra, to the air. And that's the cardinal cross, you know, the robber and the thief. And this is all wrapped into the tree of knowledge. That's why it's not an easy thing to gather. But once you understand all the constellations and the planets, you're running these energies and you can act them. So that's the cardinal cross. Once again, fire of Aries, water of Cancer, air of Libra, earth of Capricorn. That's your cardinal cross. That's to the left. To the right, you have the mutable cross. Once again, cross has got 4 points, which is, of course, Gemini to the air, Virgo to the earth, and then you have Sagittarius to the fire, the centaur, and then of course you have Pisces to the water, fire, earth, air, water. 4 forms, 4 elements becoming the 5th element. Mastery of high advanced knowledge. Okay, so that gives you, and those 3 crosses represent your clock face, which is the 12 zodiac signs, or the 12 apostles, or the 12 tribes of Israel. Once you know what you're looking at, you know what you're looking at. Right? It's just been that way. So it's self-sacrificed in the Hanged Man, because you're actually doing that, because the top of the tree of life is Neptune, and that's the Hanged Man.
Actually, just bring that up. That's an interesting bit of symbolism, actually.
Oh yeah. And what does Neptune have? Yeah, exactly. And that's to the trident. And what's Saturn got? He's got this. Oh, he's got a 3-point. When you know how to put it together, it's interesting. Teaching it is phenomenal. I love teaching it.
Even that the cross on top of the triangle conversation.
Yes.
Which is
mastering the spiritual emotions, mastering your emotions, through the magic of your own sexual balance, as it were. Look at it. And there's something very appropriate about the hangman and hanging out washing at Christmas too. Would you like to tell that?
Just a funny thing we come across this morning, because when I was sort of like a teenager, my grandma said, you cannot hang out washing during Christmas, like the Christmas days. You can't leave washing on a clothesline. You can't hang it out. And I thought, that's just, some stuff that my grandma says. And she said, no, you can't, because people will hang themselves if you hang it out on Christmas. And obviously, teenager didn't listen to grandma. It's just like, Mama, grandma's bullshit. And then, we got a phone call from my auntie that my cousin hung himself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so don't hang your washing out on Christmas.
That's the 24th, 25th, isn't it? Okay, afterwards you can hang it out.
Yeah.
Getting back to the Hanged Man, and well, there's a lot we can get into it. Notice it's the full circle. So it's the circle of life, what's called the Ouroboros, and it's also the circle of the clock face. You're mastering time. And you're being, it's like to self-sacrifice, its meaning. And the word tarot, all right, the T is to the earth, all right? The T is another cross. It's an older style of cross, if you understand crosses, which we teach about, in many of the courses we do. But if you take the T off the end of tarot, you have tarot, okay? Tarot with the silent T, which is actually an anagram of rotation, which is a wheel of life. Once again, a lot of things have been appropriate. And what number is the hangman? It's 12. The 12 numbers of the clock. So you're mastering that. So your sacrifice, or the sacrificial lamb, in this growth cycle through your emotions. You balance your emotions, you're balancing your energy in motion, and you're not being affected, because a lot of people find it very difficult to live in this world. It's a big challenge, and we all have to go through financial and emotional challenges every day. To stay in one's own joy and happiness is quite the most important thing to celebrate. Hence why we're getting back to Christmas and celebration of the gifts of life. So there's many different metaphors to this, as well as the actual connection to the planetary and the deeper cycles of nature and time.
Yeah, I also find it, a lot of people have the knowledge about these things, but they don't actually feel the energy, or they're not connected to the planets, they're not connected to the deities. And I find that makes a big difference when you actually feel the energy of, the big titans, you feel the energy of what's actually in the Hanged Man, what energy you're connecting to.
Yes. The energies of Saturn are titanic. They are very, very powerful. Same with the energy of the sun. Like right now, as we're speaking, there's just trillions of energies affecting every plant through photosynthesis and everything with light.
This actually, sorry to interrupt. I just want to, sorry, Michael, but you're right, because, like this relationship to, there's a reason why you work through in meditation through the return path in a certain order, because as you acclimatize to the moon, then you've got a resilience to a type of tension that'll allow you to work with Mercury and then Venus, and then to the Sun, and so
Yes.
on. And obviously Saturn is one of the definitely the more challenging ones. I'm still in process personally, but the studies will pretty much carry continuity with that conversation. Is that as we work our way back towards on this journey, we're essentially liberating ourselves from these energies so that we have more personal agency, and essentially liberating ourselves somewhat from our personal astrology. And
Yes.
I'm sort of wandering off the topic here. I just wanted to wax on that a little bit because Saturn is a significant player on the board, if you will, and a director of events in a lot of ways, and the karmic aspect as well. So and we're talking about Saturnalia here, and we're talking about satyrs, and we're talking about Santa, and we're talking about you name it, and there's all of this all of this connectivity there.
Yes, it is. It's an interesting language, that which is English that we use.
I also find very often, when I do one-on-one healings and you ask for past contracts or anything that's sort of like interfering with the person on their path, when a being comes forward and they have, a contract like that's written in stone, it's very often a Saturnian being that obviously that person has made that contract in past life with them, or a long time ago, and it always makes such a big difference for them to break that contract, or even being aware of what has been written in that contract that may have been made many lifetimes ago, especially when it's written in stone. Nowadays you don't write a contract in stone, you use paper or digital or any other means.
In complement to what you just said, you actually do make contracts in stone, because what's powering your computer and your phone? Quartz crystal and advanced metals such as palladium, platinum, rhodium, those they're highly advanced metals, and they have phenomenal properties. The average person hasn't got a clue. You wouldn't run copper wire through your phone. It'd just cook it in seconds. So you're using high vibrational conductors, and all these metals are sacred to the planets. So gold to the sun and silver to the moon and Mercury. Mercury measures the temperature through atmosphere, so it's perfect for thermometers and barometers and all these other particular instruments. And same with the magic of iron. Everything that we're sitting on or driving or riding is made from steel. And then you look at aspects like tin. Well, what's tin? People say, oh, it's tin. I don't understand. It's phenomenal for alloys, and it's also sacred to the planet Jupiter. And that amalgamation, it's always the masculine and feminine, because even Zeus has his sister Hera, Thor has his wife Freya, and Guru in the Indian, that's what the planet Jupiter relates to. There's the Shakti. So you're seeing these combinations. There's the tree of life and the serpent, the balance of this particular energy, your sexual sacred juice, which is produced through your pineal pituitary and the hypothalamus and down the medulla oblongata. So we're rolling through these kind of energies. So once again, the stones, the crystalline technology, it's not carved in these big things. If you understand what Moses brought down the mountain, or Tutmosis the fourth, his true name from the Bible, the biblical, Tut means of the line of Thoth or Hermes, all right? So that goes down through the appropriate ages. People might think that is blasphemous. Well, it's not. It's the truth. So Moses, all right, when he escaped Egypt, he took, something down from the mountain. So there's something that he had. What did he put in the Ark of the Covenant? You got to know this stuff if you really want to follow the tree of life and the sacred teachings of these powers. Every one of those particular Sephiroth, see those circles, they relate to the four dimensions, the four elements, and the four worlds. Three worlds coming together as the fourth world. So it's a mastery of that which you're seeking. So you can move out of this plane and you're not subject to being caught up in the wheel of life anymore. You're breaking through the contracts, as it were. Or, you're mastering the connection between the planets and the microcosm, the crystalline and metal structures. So basically, it's a gift of the tree of life. So it's life force, high vibrational fruits and things like this as well. There's so many different metaphors you can use with this. it's so good for your whole being to understand this and, you know, take you into the next levels and different planes. That's why advanced spiritual beings, you know, have this particular sacred connection to the Saturnalia festival, which is, of course, the Christ Mass, or the aligning of the three crosses.
No, okay, it's not gonna let me do
Keep
it.
going. I like that. Yeah, that's the tree of life. I teach that, and we teach it now, which is great. We got the masculine and feminine. Once again, we're saying about that dance with the Jupiter Saturnalia doesn't make sense to a lot of people that only work with basic spirituality. Most people only stop at mediumship, you know, and psychic readings and things like that, or the tarot, but they don't get into the deeper meanings of these things, into the flower of life and sacred geometry and the symbolism and the energy or the magnetism of metals, you know, which is something that a true magi would follow. Many people, if they're going to go into invocation, working with, you know, advanced teachers and things like this, you're going to be working with not just the sacred aspect of numerology and number. You're going to be working with, you know, crystalline energies, planetary energies, and also invocation and evocation. You need to be appropriately dressed for that kind of energy if you're going to work with those powerful beings, if you're going to work with principles and things like this. All right, so there's the 10 Sephiroth. There's 11. So in the middle, of course, is 6 is Sun, Tippereth. It's the ancient name for the sun. Yes, it believe that's Tippereth, the sun. That's basically, yeah, it symbolizes a lot to do with the three crosses you're looking at. And there's the 3 pillars. You have the 2 pillars, Joachim and Boaz, that many of your Masons and all your Templars and your Rosicrucians follow, and the central pillar, which is the pillar of neutrality, the fixed cross, as it were. All right. And there's 22 pathways that connect the tree of life. They're the 22 cars of the high arcana, and they relate to the constellations and the planets and 3 elements. And we haven't got the 11th chakra there, which is okay. It's hidden anyway. It's not for the average person. That's where they exist. But that's fine. That's perfect. So you have the feminine pillar and the masculine pillar. The feminine pillar, there's the feminine pillar. That's right. It's all right.
This side here, this is the feminine pillar.
That's the masculine. The masculine, yeah, you go through Mercury, Mars, and then Saturn at the top. And then the feminine pillar is Venus, Jupiter, and Uranus. And the middle, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the middle pillar is, yeah, that's Earth, Malkuth. We work on planet Earth, Gaia, and that's the moon.
Yep.
Yes.
So this is the return path that I'm going to take them through. So we can talk about
it's written in the stars. If you want to go beyond the 12 zodiac, there are other constellations have a massive influence on, from Orion to Argo Navis to Hercules, Orpheus, 13th sign, and things as well. Yeah, that's Mercury, masculine mind, but it has a lot to do with the feminine mind. Okay, and that is Venus, 7. Yeah, that's the beginning, the female pillar. That's the sun. We all work to the sun. It creates a big 6-point star, and, you know, the hexagram and the pentagrams there. Okay, and we move up. That's Gabura. That's Mars, to the masculine pillar, and over to the feminine, which is Jupiter, which is also balances both masculine and feminine. This is your first real balancer here, because Jupiter is the Zeus Hera. Okay, and they're kings. Okay, or the Thor, Freya, the god and the goddess coming together into their advanced, let's say, esoteric ascension. So you need that. So Jupiter, yeah, you're getting outside the normal elements now. You're starting to work with what's called etheric water and etheric fire, or akashic fire and akashic water. Okay. And finally,
and then of course, the planet of conversation relative to the Saturnalia festival, which is, so this is the thing too, is it's quite interesting that if I may just jump in and say, you know, we know that on the, I think it's the North Pole of Saturn, there is this hexagonal feature, which is, you know, a hexagram, if we will, but, you know, the hexagram is often seen in relationship to the sun.
That's right.
And it's interesting that, say, you know, the you know, in the Hebrew tradition, they have the Star of David, which is this, you know, a Saturday is their Sabbath, their Shabbat, right. And it's also on the Saturn day. And you know, that's quite a striking sort of like three-way connection when you think about it, because I've heard stories about that Saturn actually was the first sun in the solar system, and then it sort of got repositioned. And so
yes, he's the Lord of the Rings, one ring. And Saturn relates to the 3. It is the triangle, all right, but it has the hex on top. So there's a lot to get into this. You go to the sun is 6, and as Tesla said, then you work with a 9, which is the moon. If you're balancing energies of sun, moon, and Saturn, you've got the energy balance, because you're working with silver, gold, and lead, as it were. But there's a lot more to this than it is. You're not going to pick this up in 3 months, sort of thing. It's something you study for a long time. So you're balancing the magnetism of the moon and the tides. If you can balance that, you're balancing your emotions, because tides work to the liquid element. And when you're balancing the energy of the sun, it's gold, it's life force, you know, the solar angels and things. So you have the lunar. You need to balance both. You know, they're constant forces. They're absolutes. They're in constant effect all the time. So we have many sun gods across this planet. Go anywhere to the Americas, Africa, you have these sun gods or solar angels. And then, of course, getting back to Saturnality is the 3. You master that, because Saturn is to etheric earth, or the deeper spiritual aspects of earth. And it's not something that's going to be summed up with just solid rock or granite. It's about the different principles of mastering the crystalline structures, because it's the gateway to the most advanced outer planets and the atomics and all the advanced aspects of a very advanced enlightenment, you know, Metatron's cube, Macabre, you know, still meditations, interdimensional travel, telekinesis, that kind of thing. But Saturn will lock you in until you're ready, until you know the knowledge, because it's just got so much energy and power. So you must master the rings, as it were, or Lord of the Rings, as it were.
Become the Lord. Yeah, totally. Hey, I just want to say too that, you know, thank you to everyone in the chat for joining us. And we're really grateful to have you guys here. And I see that there are some questions there, and we sort of naturally just wander off on all sorts of tangents when we get
we're just getting started.
Yeah, we're just getting started. So thank you for those of you with questions, and we'll certainly get there. But I just wanted to just bring it back around a little bit to the topic of Christmas, which is, you know, this this conversation about the sun being born. Now, in a sense. Now, I want to say too that you know, this, a lot of the holidays, and you know, it's like, you know, I live in the southern hemisphere, and we end up inheriting a lot of northern hemisphere holidays, and they're not completely appropriate. You know, like, it's like, you know, for example, you know, Samhain, or, you know, what we refer to as Halloween, if we were actually celebrating it in the correct date, what would be the correct date for, you know, Christmas, or, you know, Halloween, you know, like, because it's a switching of the hemispheres, essentially, you know. And so we're kind of celebrating holidays that are actually inverse in some ways, but because large masses of the population live in the northern hemisphere, all that attention and energy and intent goes into that, and so you can't help but sort of be pulled into it, I guess. Am I kind of right with that? Or
you're absolutely right, the northern hemisphere, because once again, as we started the conversation, we're moving into the solstice tomorrow, and it's our summer solstice in the southern hemisphere, and it's the northern hemisphere's, you know, it's their winter solstice. It's their longest night, shortest day, whereas here it's our longest day, obviously the brightest part of the day as well, and it's our shortest night as well. So solstice, and once again, it creates a cross, because you have our winter solstice, you know, around, you know, June the 21st, which is obviously inverse, and then you have the equinoxes, once again creating a big cross in the sky. You have the winter equinox, or sorry, the spring equinox and the autumn equinox, and they're inverse. But we do inherit many of the festivals and festivities of our northern cousins, as it were. So there has a lot of different traditions, like if you're saying about All Hallows Day, what's celebrated there, Wesak, you know, thinning of the veils, all these things, 4 elements coming, 4 quadrants, you know. So mastering an arc is what an archangel is, a master of arcane law and arc electrical energy.
I also find even, you have like the winter solstice in the north and the summer solstice happening here. A lot of people that live in the southern hemisphere, they have, their family, their relatives in the northern hemisphere, or, they have their inheritage, their ancestral line in the northern hemisphere, your bloodline. So, and the people in the northern hemisphere, your family, your friends, they are affected by those energies. And because you are connected to them, you're still getting affected by those energies, even you're in, in the opposite hemisphere, so to say. But you're connected, you have your bloodline there.
That's a really good point. I think people sort of like diminish the value of of lineage and bloodline. There is it's a thread that we carry with us, because even as diluted as it may become, it's still present. You can, what do? They do it in homeopathy. They keep diluting and diluting and diluting and diluting, but that presence is still there.
Yes, it is, exactly. Yeah, and even the royal family are big, not just believers in homeopathy, they have their own astrology too. Could you keep that symbol up there? Yeah, thank you. You see the 4 triangles representing the 4 elements, obviously the earth, fire, air, and the water, of the 4 corners of the 4 quadrants of the fixed crosshair. You see the triangle? That represents the power of Saturn. It's so simple, but it represents every aspect of all the elements within the earth, because it's not just like earth and rocks and things. It represents the liquid form of it represents the higher vibrational creative energies of earth. Right? So it's not just, people try and segregate. I've had some of my students say, fire's to the head and then air is to the chest, which it is in Barton's work, and abdomen is water and your legs are to the earth. That's a very oversimplified area. Whereas we go through the different aspects and understand the higher vibrational aspects and the lower vibrationals of the different elements and their components, we get to understand that in the absolute simplicity of this energy is so much creativity. People want to go to the high energy. You've got to master the basics. You've got to master the foundation, which is the 10th Sephiroth, which is Earth, which is, key to a life on this planet and this plane. And then we start to find out about other planes and advanced technology and, ancient laws and ancient kingdoms. There's another aspect you just brought up very appropriately there with Manuela about the bloodlines and your ancestral line. The blood is sacred, right? Blood, obviously, is very much thicker than water. So when we're meditating, we work a lot with our blood. It has a very easy access to the vital force when we're building and increasing our energy and our protective fields. So blood is, very much related to that. People think that, it's negative. Well, stop eating meat. If you understand the blood, it has an energy, it has a vitality to that. And if you need to eat certain foods, you're looking for that vitality. So your blood has a lot to do with the minerals. Here we go, the metals again. It has iron. Iron has the magnetism. So you have this dynamic between Mars and Venus, or Aphrodite and Ares. There's so many different metaphors, but most people blow their mind out. So if you want to get your mind put back together, work with Mercury and things like that. You can use your spiritual mind and you absorb symbolism and this knowledge very, very quickly, and it's very easy to integrate.
Yeah, this is really good stuff, because being able to present it in a sort of a short form in a succinct way, so that you can kind of, because there's a value in this. There's a reason why information is organized and categorized in this way to make sense. And I find that, this idea of, we see the 4 and 5 element systems in various formats around the planet. And obviously at this time of the year, the northern hemisphere is having their winter, which is more water element, and we are in our summer and our sun element, our fire element. And but this is like it gives you, we could go off on so many different tangents with this.
Yeah, I know. You're bored for the rest of your life. Everything in your life becomes incredibly interesting with this. So
yeah. That's it. And so, as far as sort of Christmas goes, if you think about the kinds of activities that take place in relation to, elements, if we will, elements, You know, down here, it's summertime. It's definitely fire element. It's warm. And so we're out doing things. And so the celebration tendencies are, you know, like, it's funny, like you've got the same holiday essentially, but it's,
Yes.
you know, it's people are out, right? They're outside, right? You know, whereas say in the Northern Hemisphere, you know, people are probably going to be tending to be more inside, but the same kind of thing applies, is that we're celebrating this time of the year because it's the end of the year. I'm kind of tangled up on my words here, but there's a common thread, regardless of the elemental influence. That is that we are sort of coming together to celebrate something. And one of the reasons I bring this image up, and I want to say thank you to Mark Persio from whatonearthishappening.com for this. I've stole this off one of his presentations, and he's fine with it. But it's a beautiful thing, and it obviously relates to the Northern Hemisphere. But one of the things is that a lot of these holidays relate to how our ancestors worked with basically agriculture and
Yes.
you know, planning the planting seasons. And at this time of the year, like you know, it's obviously in the winter solstice, it's the season of you know, the dark season, if you will, the inside where people go in, you know. And so as far as sort of the relationship to Christ goes, you know, if the Northern Hemisphere are spending more time inside, you know, I wonder if there's a relationship or some kind of parallel to the sort of inner reflection of, you know, like, because Christ will say, you know, the kingdom of heaven is within, and like people are literally inside their houses because it's too cold to go outside. And so there's a more of a sort of an inward sort of focus at this time of the year, by and large, because the majority of the population around the planet that celebrate Christmas are on the Northern Hemisphere. And I'm probably just making stuff up here, but I guess it might be going somewhere. And that, you know, there's because these metaphors and analogies at each different level, there's a reason for them. You know, why is so much emphasis placed on this particular time of the year? And like I said, why is there just you know, we have so many traditions that celebrate at this time of the year, regardless of the weather. It's just this kind of thing, right? And why is it that, you know, I mean, this is a personal observation, that even though the shopping centers and everything's going nuts crazy and people are climbing, you know, you got Thanksgiving where everyone's sitting around like being grateful, and then the next day they got Black Friday where they're all climbing over each other to get to the cheapest television sort of thing. And it's this kind of really abrupt and jarring kind of, you know, people are driving around and trying to get the stuff done all for this big day. There's this huge amount of pressure. It reminds me of a wedding when maybe Bridezilla is like just focused on this big day and the guy's cruising. And my mate who got married, he was cruising all the way up to the day. Then on the day, he pretty much passed out because he just started freaking out. And she was cool as, you know, but there's all this tension that builds up to this point, and then it's just time, well, apart from all the dishes and the cooking, to relax. But all these traditions that celebrate at this time of year, what do you, I mean, obviously the planets are always moving. And so even though it's December and there's a zodiac relationship to this time of the year, we're entering into Capricorn. You know, what could you attribute this kind of festivity? Is it because we've been building it up over time, and so it's in the sort of the human family's sort of collective unconscious, or is there something that says, all right, okay, all you monkeys and humans on the planet, it's time for you guys to relax and hang out with each other and think about what's important and what's special? Because you need to take some time out. We've been working you down to the grindstone throughout the year. And obviously this is a Gregorian calendar that we all sort of submit to in one form or another. But I kind of think that, you know, from the point of view of maybe someone who's running the show, it's like we need to make sure that they have some time off and spend some time with their families and reflect on things. And I'm, like I said, I'm going all over the place here, but there's something about this time of the year that's very powerful.
Well, yeah, I do find there is a lot of, you know, different things going on. If you look at, you know, the chart at the moment. We're going through the galactic center, so there's obviously lots of energy, the Saturnian energy, which is, you know, like your judgment day, so to say, you know, that balancing. But then also in terms of the seasons and the cycles, you know, you have winter, spring, summer, autumn, and you have this throughout the whole year, so 12 months, but you have also those cycles in like smaller terms within everybody, and then in terms of like certain years even, that you have, you know, the winter time sort of is like that time where you go inwards, you reflect, you gather your strength, you contemplate, and then you have the strength again to come out in spring, to, you know, thrive again, to show off. And summer is sort of like the time of, you know, you're in your full power, you're blossoming. Autumn is the time of, you know, letting go of things, and then you go into winter again. And this happens literally over the year. It happens within the months. You can even see it with, you know, the moon cycle. You can see it, you know, with the female cycle as well, where this is reflected. You have it over the 7-year cycle. You have it literally like this repetitive cycle happens sort of all around on the earth plane. But obviously then there is the galactic things going on, the shifting of the times, so to say.
I almost wonder if there is just so many varieties of influences going on that this particular time of the year is almost like a centering practice for the family to kind of like find its feet again and kind of find some solid ground in a sense. It's almost like a mass ritual to sort of recenter, because you're right, there are so many influences out there. I regard, you know, including the ones in our immediate vicinity as well. And so, you know, if you think about, there's just myriad influences driving decision-making and behavior patterns on the planet. And I like you said, you know, and during the cold months, most of the population feeds into the big egregore, and we're all just, this is like, regardless of where you are on the planet, I don't know. I just thought of this now when you were mentioning this, Manuela, is that like, because of these number of influences that are driving us, it's almost like we need to have some kind of our own personal kind of ritual of sorts or something, just to kind of bring things back together. And it's almost like an imperative or a mandatory goodwill period to just sort of remind us about what's important.
Yeah, definitely. And it's also almost like, you know, the human psychic works very much with rituals, and it's almost like a rites of passage to go into the next year as well. So, you know, so you sort of like contemplate, leave the old things behind, and then you have that celebration with the new year, you know, stepping into the new. And a lot of people make like the New Year's resolutions and all of this stuff. But this time of the year also has, you know, the ancient pagan traditions, and, you know, even before that, they were very much connected to the land, to the spirits, to the deities, what was going on. And then, you know, Christianity and other things came in to sort of like dilute that a bit as well.
Yeah, you're right. So many great, so many things we could talk about. I just want to quickly say we sort of just hit the hour mark, and I want to just put it out to the audience. If anyone's got any questions, please, now's a good time to put them in. And unless you guys want to talk about anything else in particular, I'd love to bring a couple of these questions from the audience up, if the guests are up for it.
Yeah, sure. Bring him up. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. All right. So, Will, thank you, Will, for your question and your membership. I appreciate you, brother. Now, he's asked, do the two wands make a cross? So, I mean, there's an equilateral cross that we see through a lot of traditions too, rather than the sort of the elongated cross, if you will, like the kind of the one with, like the longest stalk that goes into the earth. But then there's like this kind of this symbol here, the equilateral cross. So, Michael, have you got any comments on this?
Well, there are many types of crosses. We've got a page of crosses that we use. Like, it's just a whole page of about 40 different types of crosses, you know. So the equilateral cross is the Greek cross. It's also can be the Maltese cross. and all the full shark. There is different types of those things. Also, it can be like you see it on the ambulance, that red cross. All right, so that's a balanced cross, as opposed the cross we use. The Christian one is called the cross of St. Peter's, and there's a lower tier, there's a middle tier. You got 2 crosses. That's a cross of Lorraine, and 3 tiers of papal cross, or the cross of Calvary with the 3 steps. I have a whole requirement to that. Now, if you put 2 wands, okay, there's many sacred dances around the world where they dance over the cross, things like that. I mean, the flag of Britain, it's also on in New Zealand, and the Australian and the Hawaiian flag is the Union Jack, which is 3 crosses coming together. Ironically, that is so deep in your DNA because, we're of stardust. So it's obviously connected to the stars. So that is so appropriate, and why, the Union Jack is so powerful, and obviously why certain flags, people will die for the flag. They're dying for the country, as it were. So the 2 wands, I don't know if you're talking about the card, the 2 of wands, that has a lot of strong energy to it. It is, it can be seen as just a normal cross. That's the one. There you go. You're getting into crosses now. You have the Celtic cross with the circle around it. Yep, that's actually appropriated from the book that I have. So it's very, very accurate. You can get into the swastika, which is obviously very, very old. That's the cross of Lorraine with 2 tiers. You have Celtic cross. You have, the anchor, the Ankh of Egypt, Russian cross, Russian Orthodox cross. It's got 3 tiers. The cross on the 45 degrees, that's the Russian cross, as you see in that picture there. It represents the 3 worlds, and obviously the 12 zodiac, but also interdimensional understanding, as it were, which is, get your soul out of the incarnation cycle of the tarot, as it were. So, yeah, there you are. You look at the full flush, okay? St. Andrew's cross along Scotland, of the Scottish flag. That's like the X. And
it's funny, there's these 2 significant points on the calendar in the year that we celebrate, in regards to the figure of Christ. And, that's funny. The cross is actually, it's could be considered to be the crucifix, I guess, could be considered to be a bit of a dour symbol in some ways, because it's, it represents a sort of a type of a suffering. And I'm wondering if that connotation towards that symbol is, it was an overlay that came later, maybe,
Yes, there's many metaphors we can use at the cross. I mean, Crusader's sword or a Templar sword is a cross because it has a hilt, and a guard there as well. We're getting into more advanced types of crosses, and then reading a lot more. The Celtic cross is feminine and masculine. It's a circle around the cross. Once again, represents the 4 quadrants, and they kept that as long as they possibly could before, it got appropriated to the very basic Christian. That cross there doesn't carry a higher vibration. The more advanced crosses have a lot of energy. See, if you see the Celtic cross with the Celtic knotting, the Celtic knots are very similar to the Norse as well, or the movement of the serpent and the dragon through the 3 crosses. Also have these 3 crosses in the body. Much to get into, but that's obviously more on the tree of knife, and tarot. You learn about those sorts of things, and how energizing and invigorating they are with the meditations you do, and what it releases in your body, for the greater advancements of your attunement and esoteric awareness, as it were.
Wonderful. Yeah, they're such significant symbols because they're so prolific, aren't they? And
yes, absolutely.
And they, it's very hard not to rock around a Western culture, like say where I live around here, and you will see one, because there's churches everywhere.
Yes, absolutely.
I've got another question here, and thank you for that. That was a wonderful response. I appreciate that. And now I'm not sure how it's framed as a question, but planetary days and hours, is it mechanical, something like letters or building blocks, or some very old and powerful ritual structure, or something else?
It's a combination of many things. Planetary days and hours, even if you break up the 24 hours of a day that we're working with, There's a lot we can get into there, but just say with the 24-hour aspect, right? All right. And then there's 60 minutes, and then there's 60 seconds, all right? These times came up out of Sumeria, all right? The ancient Anunnaki worked with that. Very advanced culture. And obviously this was the birth of the atom. Now, with planetary days and hours, it has the mechanics. We use celestial mechanics. If you understand the driving forces of planets, they're like geared cogs, but they're not like gears, like two-dimensional. They're actually three-dimensional geometric shapes, like tetrahedrons and, you know, octahedrons and things like this. If you want to get into advanced numbers and celestial mechanics, this is where your spirituality goes into the high vibrational science and mathematics and balance there. So there is a mechanical structure to it. Yes, very well said. And it's a very, very clever building block. That's the way DNA and things are built. So it moves through, you know, the spiral of spirit. So it's very, very old. And there's also very powerful ritual structures that many cultures adhere to. Some of these may be watered down and deleted, but some are very, very strong. There are certain days when it's good to, you know, to do very advanced meditations, or healing is a lot more easy. You don't have such a let's say a distracted mind, as it were, or something like that. There's a lot of areas. Again, that's why we teach what we teach. We can get into the nitty gritty of each of these areas. 7 days of the week is a 7-point star. 7-point star relates to Venus, okay, or another wheel of life, because it'll be one planet, then it'll be another. People are trying to say, well, what came first, you know, the chicken or the egg? Well, you understand that's a question of time. So the chicken's always existed, but where did it start? You're going to go. So people start working back in linear, and that's where they're programmed. They haven't got a chance. So they understand the 3 dimensions, and then you've got to get into 4D to understand the chicken always existed. Right? Because it's always been there, because it's a constant. It's like there's an absolute. And the time matrix, you can access it in any way because it works like a spiral. More on that if you want to get into the Philadelphia experiment and all the ratios, torus fields and things like that. You get into quantum, so you're going into microcosm. You can exist at 2 places at once, but you're not going to work out time from a 3-dimensional point. You know, many of the great scientists have said that. Right? You got to go into 4D.
Wow, that was great.
You blow paradoxes away, you become the paradoxes. Because to see the cyclone like a master shaman, you've got to be able to be right at the eye of the cyclone or the hurricane. And that's just suicidal to most people. However, if you know what you're doing, you'll master it like a true magician. And you talk to it because it's a living entity. That's exactly what it is. It works in spin cycles. So, you know, obviously they have different names to weather patterns and magic, and they work to planetary cycles. That's what makes the crystalline structure of the earth is a dynamic. So you'll see it in the ancient laws, myths and legends. You know, it's just hidden, you know, occult. It's hidden. It's not masses.
Cool. Okay. Well, you know, there's another question here. It's not really related to the topic, but hey, look, anything goes on this channel, right? So, you know, now there's lots of different types of astrology, and obviously this time of the year is, you know, we've shifted out of this fire sign into now we're into this earth sign, and you know, obviously there's a personal astrology, and then there's a planetary astrology, and there's an astrology that affects the human family and the world's soul to an extent as well, I would say.
Yes, that's absolutely.
And so, you know, what Neb is asking here is the egregoric effect of using things like tropical zodiac, tarot, planetary hours. I mean, it's not a very precise question, but I guess what it's
very broad.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll just pass it to you, Michael and Manuela. So, you know, if you've got something you can comment on.
Oh, wow. By egregoric, you mean egregoric. Fantastic. That's brilliant.
The egregorian calendar. Oh, there we go.
Oh, big days out here. We've got to do more of these. Wow.
I'll just clear the calendar. I'll just clear the social calendar.
Exactly. He's talking more about the metaphysical effects and that with the egregoric.
I think what it is like, you know, if, for example, if you've got a Thoth tarot deck,
yes,
it's going to carry there's going to be an egregore
Energy
associated with
patterns are
it.
going to come there. If you're going to draw the hangman 3 times in a row, you're going to draw the hangman 3 times in a row. You know what I mean? Because that's going to be affecting. What's going to be something that even if you're trying to run away from what, you know, maybe your karma. Karma's cause and effect, or every action creates a reaction. If you're looking from a scientific point of view, it's just what it is. Right? So we have these emotional souls, and they're accumulating this energy because we're learning lessons while we're down on this physical plane as fallen angels or cosmonauts or, you know, elemental beings, depending on the type of soul you are. So yeah, yes, of course, tropical zodiac. I used to use it. I mean, we've still got some of those charts around. I use these. These are more accurate. They're what's called sidereal or Vedic astrology and astronomy. It's there, but you use the apps now. The apps are great because I'll show you that a lot of it's out. We're still in Sagittarius as far as the sidereal. We are till, you know, the main tropical zodiac is 23 degrees out. So whenever it tells you the moon did something, go and read the stars. Most astrologers can't read the stars.
Yeah,
they can't. Go outside. You want to see, is it raining out there? Stick your head out.
Oh, look at that.
You know, so
There's the zodiac right there.
no, I need an attractive weatherman or weather lady that's half naked to stare at me how I'm going to think. Whereas, you know, if you're into outdoor activities, you understand, you start to learn about what the 4 winds do. Same with the effects of the real deal. You know, wow, the sun, oh, that's all made up. That's all old stuff. Well, the sun's still creating 1 trillion tons of life force in a nanosecond. So I don't really care what the religions tell me. All right. So that's a real force. And I remember I was talking with Mark the other day, and he said, "Oh, you're a windburn or something." I said, "Yeah, I know. I'm out in the elements 12 hours a day, you know. So I'm working with the elements. I'm working with metals. I'm doing it hands-on rather than the metaphysics of reading it out of books. Not that I haven't read enough books and things, but it's like, get your hands dirty with this stuff.
Oh yeah.
The plants, and check it out. If you're doing Chinese or, you know, let's say some of the Eastern philosophies, get into the Western stuff, get into the Celtic, get into the Mesoamerican. If you want a real calendar, get into the Mesoamerican. That'll your mental dexterity.
Oh, geez.
You're working in 13s and 20s, and 20 is the time code. You know, it's a 9/11. Let's not even, if you want to know how to real crack into time dimensions and things, but you know, let's save that for let's just keep it nice and mediumshipy, you know, nice and basic. So there's so many areas you can go into this. So yes, it does have an effect. You know, does the sun have an effect on us? Yes, it does. All right. Does the moon control the tides? Yes, it does. So their luminaries are examples. You know, the Masons are masters, well, the original ones, the real ones, not the Freemasons. They don't know that much. You know, I bet 33-degree Masons, they're not that smart. They may have something in society, but you talked about esoterics and just thinking, this guy knows nothing. If you really want to learn, you want to go to a 33-degree Mason like Manly P. Hall, who's passed over, The Secret Teaching of Life. That's a fantastic book. There's so much in there. You know, you'll get to learn about, you know, the prophetesses and things like that. Oracle of Delphi. Yeah, tons and tons and tons. You know, the 7 planets relating to the 7 vowels, you know, the vowel sounds, Kabbalah, you know, 5 main to the elements, and you got 2 appropriate of the W and the Y. Then you can speak Welsh. Don't go into it too much. Great days here and great nights. So,
that's all good. I've actually got to sort of start stitching things up because I've got to disappear. But
right.
What I want to do,
maybe what I want to confused.
No, that's okay. I've got one more thing here and then I want to excuse me. I've got we want to give you a website and your and what you guys are up to, a bit of a plug.
Thank you.
But one more point from Will, and I think this was referring back to when he mentioned talking about the crosses, because if you look at the two, like an equilateral cross, you've got air and earth at opposite ends of the pole, and then you've got fire and water. And you could say that they are, if you break them, rather than break them by the stick, if you break them by the triangle, you've got 2 sort of triangles like this forming a cross almost. Yes. And you could say that, you know, like the 2 poles and that coming together is a form of a divine union, because they balance each other out. And if we look at where Tifereth and, you know, the sun symbolism is on the tree of life, we could say, I mean, this is just me just freestyling on what we're talking about Christmas and that. It's like, you know, maybe this is a time of the year when the sun, I mean, we could talk about the equinox as being the bridge point or the halfway point, but it's also like maybe the solstices are also like reset points. They reach their maximum travel point, and so it helps to sort of set the parameters for operation, because we get the hottest point and we get the coldest point, and those could be two ends of the
shortest polarity. Of course, it's divine yin, without a doubt. You wouldn't be doing this work. It's divine. If you divide something, you split it into two. For beginners, and obviously it splits into more. There's the sign. Even the symbol for divide is dot dot with a line through it. Same with minus. The addition sign is like it's plus and then across. It's there. You multiply. You multiply. Divine union. It's like your two pillars and then your three. You go into neutral, your masculine and your feminine. You have that, divine union. And it's like, that's a paradox in itself, because it's divine, divided, and then you reunite, you reunite. And then you letters in what the word means. You are the you, and you is a very powerful vowel, where the Kabbalah, you is ancient. Right? It's a sound that will always be, it's like a tuning fork or a magnet. And when you put the N next to it, which represents the red blood, it amplifies it. And ION, an ion, like an atom, is a state of being, right? You're in a state of being with an ion, ION, okay? Ion. Anyway, you break things down into the microcosm that represent the macrocosm, so you can keep going down into, nuclear structures of things, or atomic structures. So divine is absolute always, because it's always going to be a dance. So
seeking to find its balance point.
Apparently so. Yeah. Well, you even
we'd like
to think crazy days. What's happening there? We're on two different timelines. Well,
tell me about it.
Yeah. What planet are you on? Well, this one at the moment.
Yeah. At the just for now, it'll do. The specials at the supermarket are good, so the avocados are cheap, so I'll hang out here for a bit. All right, okay, guys. So let's have a look at this wonderful website that you've been building. It's so delicious. I mean, look at this wonderful symbolism and that. But tell us. I mean, we've certainly checked this out before, but is there anything you'd like to highlight to the audience about what's coming up and what you guys are offering?
So yeah, thank you for putting the website up. I'm trying to keep it updated and always play around with the design and everything. Yeah, we got the foundational courses, which is sort of, your foundational courses for Hermetics or for any spiritual work. That sort of like brings it all together, and we just put it in those, 5 simple courses. They're pre-recorded. If you scroll further down, you will see it. And it's, there you go. I've got a tree on there as well. So you need your foundation, that stable foundation. And then obviously,
that's great.
Sorted, you can go into the higher magic, because you have your foundation where you know your soul, your spirit, how your mind works. You're able to control your mind, quieten your mind, sort of like the basics, emotions, how they relate to the elements, how to build elements, how to work with them. Obviously, protection is really important. A lot of people do this work without proper protection, and then they pick up entities and all sorts of other things. And then the psychic skills, sort of like my speciality, that people are really able to see things. They can distinguish between what's real, what's their imagination, enhance their psychic skills with, the knowing, the inner knowing, the listening, the intuition, also the manifestation skills, love, attraction, law of repulsion. And then we go into the spheres, dimensions, spiritual beings, where you really get connected to those realms, so to say, and that gives you sort of like a real foundation. No matter where you want to go after that, what you want to do, you sort of like know what to go by. Your BS filter is really strong, and when something is off, and then obviously so they are pre-recorded. We got the special on at the moment for the 5
Oh, wonderful. Yeah,
it's a bit further down, and then we also offer them once a year in person. That's obviously The next one is the end of January here on the Sunshine Coast. And we also offer it for the first time in Europe, in Sardinia in June.
Oh, wow. Is this on the website somewhere, like the upcoming?
Yeah. Oh, no, you're there right now. Foundations of Hermetics workshop.
There we go. Yep.
Yeah, that's the one here on the Sunshine Coast. And then obviously we do the same in Sardinia. The one in Sardinia is a bit longer.
That's going to be cool. That place is full of all sorts of really interesting stuff.
Oh, yeah. Land of the Giants, the gods and cycles. Yes, it's powerful.
Yeah, and those are sort of like the foundational courses we require for people if they want to join the Tree of Life. We've got the Tree of Life workshop starting in February. That's under the advanced courses then. Starting in February, and
Tree of Life's magic, isn't
starting
it?
in February, and it's for 9 months. We catch up twice a week online, and that's where we literally go into what we just talked about, all the planets, all the symbolism, and you really get to feel the energy and also work with it, work it into your daily life.
Yeah, there's also bonuses that we unlock in each of the courses, not just the 12 Zodiac. We do as a bonus within the Tree of Life and the Wheel of Life courses, we get into the energies, for example, of Orion, the 3 belt stars and how the pyramids around the world are lined up to that, not just in Giza, but also in Mexico. We talk about the Pleiadians. We get into the Andromedan connection, the Arcturian connection, and many of these aspects. We talk about artifacts and ancient relics, powerful advanced meditations such as the Merkaba, interdimensional, interstellar travel and things like this. The Caduceus, that's obviously, foundational signature of myself that we've been covering for so many years. We met through that, which is epic. And, the ancient power of the symbolism of the, great ones, the Magi of time. We unlock a lot of knowledge between different languages, the ancient languages, and the symbolism associated with that, whether it be hieroglyphs or Coptic or Enochian languages. We get into that a little bit because I'm here to answer a lot of questions. A lot of the energy just rolls through. So exactly, we look at the the aspects of the negative things connected to, the Luciferian and the Baphomet, and the negative aspects and why they are there, but also interdimensional aspects of travel, the power of the, Metatron's cube. Metatron, as you know, is a biblical Enoch. A lot of people don't remember that they need to learn some of these things. Very powerful. There's a lot of keys into the old ancient scriptures, and there's the feathered serpent technology and knowledge of the step pyramids and that associated with South America, when we can go to different areas and the different cultures associated to different ancient cultures, such as Olmec, these huge stone megalithic heads and things around that and how they're laid out. So, we've got many things to share. We're not just your average medium school, that's for sure. Very, very proud of our work, and Manuel's done a wonderful job on the site, and it's wonderful to yes, bring your trident and your sword. Exactly. We'll show you how to bless and use it. You won't get that at the coffee club.
Well, the Hermetic Tree of Life is the one we offer is quite unique because obviously Michael was at the School of Inner Knowledge for 8 years, 9 years.
Yes. Yeah.
So what we're teaching is not only Hermetics or Kabbalah in that, Franz Baden. It's like way broader and encompasses way more things, especially, with my shamanic background. We also have healings included to really, help people on sort of like all levels from all angles.
Energetic healings that really work. So they're fantastic. We've got a great connection there. So School of Inner Knowledge is obviously a big topic that comes through over the ages, which is, because we did a lot of Barden's work, we're constantly onto that at a very early age, as well as Manly P. Hall's work, Alice A. Bailey's Hall, then there's the Golden Dawn, knowing what's going on there as well. Plus many of the different societies, because once you start working in them, you start to expand your cultures all around the world. You'll be jumping, around the world, literally, energizing So we've got some very, very successful, really simplified techniques of how to, you know, move your mind, mental transference, consciousness, and then, you know, obviously remote viewing. We do the whole package, you know, that's relevant. We want, you know, the best gifts that people have, you know, it's like bring forward the best gifts. And these courses are very articulate and intricate, and they carry a lot of background wisdom. Your questions get very much answered, and you can move on with your life, which is very helpful.
Well, I've got to say, it's always a whirlwind, hurricane, knowledge, maelstrom hanging out with you guys. And I'm so grateful for everything that you share. And, you know, and the website's looking great. All the content's looking really great. I love the upskilling, and you guys make a great team. You really do. And yeah, Manuela, I can tell, you know, like
Yes.
there's a lot of time, because I make stuff, and I tell you what, it takes time and effort. And if you're picky, and it's got to look good too, right? You
play around.
So I really appreciate the attention to detail, because it's really where it's at. And I mean, it's, you know, there's a lot of people teaching these kinds of things, but to get the good stuff through, you know, we've got to keep the conversation alive. And so thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much to everyone in the chat. And I'm sorry if we didn't get to everyone's questions, but we did have a limited time today. But I have no doubt that we'll be catching up with these two wonderful beings once again in the future. And, you know, I guess thanks, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and all the rest. I mean, what else? Happy solstice, because that's pretty significant. That's actually today, I believe. I think it's 10.
Yeah, 21st, 22nd.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, you know, today is a good day. You know, get out and enjoy wherever it is, whatever you're doing, man. Go out and love your life and enjoy life and put a smile on somebody else's face. However and whatever you do to celebrate this. I'm so grateful to everyone. And thank you so much to my wonderful guests. And I'd like to leave it with you guys to drop some, have the final words.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thank you very much, Phil. It's been wonderful to be back again. Once again, it would have been wonderful to answer as many questions as possible, and, you know, get into as many areas, and also tangents. That should be your next conversational topic, because we love it. We've got, I don't know how many areas we visited, but we do. And Merry Solstice, yes, exactly. Solstice, sun. So yeah, the sun. It's about celebration and gifts and joy. No matter how much you do this work, it's still about the joy within, and it's about finding who you really, really want to be. You know, find your mission, your purpose in life. Of doing. And if, you know, we're excited by so many different things, from great music, great poetry, to the arts and sculptures and fantastic architecture, right through to, you know, getting to the beach and, you know, catching some waves and staring at attractive young bodies, or whatever you're into, and drinking and partying. And I'm just going to run out of adjectives if I keep going. So enjoy it. You're connected to the Stella here, only here on Classic Rock. It's Phil FM 99.9 on the dial. Exactly. We're doing the atomic meditations. You should see that. We got so much in the metals. Well, we're a metal, man. We're metal. So we use metal strings on guitars, man. So thanks very much for having us, and it's been wonderful. And yeah, we do enjoy the connection to the ancient old Wiccan and, you know, Celtic, as well as the Norse and many of the other cultures. Too many to mention right now, but thank you very much for the great time. We really appreciated it. It's been wonderful.
You guys are the best. Thanks so much for coming on. Thank you to my wonderful audience and everyone that came in from wherever you've come from. Thank you for joining us. We will
the DeLoreans out the back and the TARDIS.
Yeah. You've got to have one of those.
Okay, so many levels.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you guys all again very soon. Have a wonderful day, wonderful weekend, wonderful week. We love you. You're the best. Stay well, eh?